Welcome to another presentation at the East Trade Winds, hosted by Bernie Fransgrote and Wayne Pratt. Our guest is Tony K. Silver.
LinkedIn, 10 or 15 minutes, giving you some information that I hope we will find interesting, useful, implementable, and something else that we talked about before we started about how LinkedIn do not talk to their members. And there is a notification that you all need to be aware of. LinkedIn statistics say this: there's 1.22 billion users on LinkedIn. No, it's not. It's another one of LinkedIn's statistics that don't always tell the whole truth. That actually is the number of people that have joined LinkedIn since November 5th, 2003, when it started. Many of them have been removed. Yes, LinkedIn do remove people from their platform on a regular basis. If I asked you the question, did you read the user agreement when you first joined LinkedIn? You'd be the first person ever to say yes, because in 15 years of asking that question, no one ever has. There are some bits in there that LinkedIn will use to batter you over the head. There's about 70 million people added every year. It's continuing to grow. There's nothing I see as a threat, certainly not during my lifetime anyway. And in America, 240 million user accounts, which, if that figure is right, about 70% of all Americans are on LinkedIn. No, you're not. Again, list LinkedIn statistics. What a load. Yeah. I will cover these points. Profile is dull and doesn't get views. You're not getting real leads or business opportunities. We're unsure how to grow your network with the right people. Well, there's some fundamentals around LinkedIn, and that is where many people fall down because they don't know what they are, because LinkedIn haven't bothered telling them. As I say, the other question I will ask at the start of a talk is, who got the manual when they first joined LinkedIn? And again, I know the answer is nobody. And also, do they give you lots and lots of messages about all the updates that are going on? And again, it's not never, but it's hardly ever. So yes, we also need to consider it's a website, but it's also a massive database. It's highly searchable. You don't have to have Sales Navigator. You don't need to have premium. You can search really effectively in the standard version. In fact, they keep tweaking it and giving it more value. The main thing there, top tip for you, ladies and gentlemen, is look at the all filters button. Use that to drive the number down, because you will start with the number that's probably in the millions. But LinkedIn's now removed the number from the top corner because we caught them out telling fibs. So you can drive them really highly targeted in the standard version. Attention spans these days, I have a talk called the 7-second syndrome. And the first thing I have to do is tell people that I'm lying, because it's a little bit long. It can be as low as 1.7 seconds, because that is Generation Z. The youngsters have a very initial short attention span, but even for us older people, it's between 5 and 7 seconds. When people look at your LinkedIn profile, that is it. The visibility is 5 to 7 seconds. What are they looking at? This is what we call the top card. You might get a bit more information if you've got one of those really big screens that's bigger than my TV. But for most normal people on a laptop, you get 3 key elements. 2 other things you need to consider. People are visually orientated. About 70% of people will see visual things first. And secondly, 70% of people are using their mobile devices, and the screens are a lot smaller. We need to consider both those things when we set up our profiles. And you've got the banner across the top, visual elements. Headshot. I called it a headshot because you've got too much of your body in it, and then you look at it on your mobile and you see the person's face. Eyes are for trust. So those of you that have chosen to not look at the camera, you could be doing yourself a disservice. People lose the eyes. If you met me in person, we would look at each other in the eye. We wouldn't stare, but you wouldn't look over my shoulder. So don't do it on LinkedIn either. Pronouns. Yeah, some people are highly into pronouns. I go, well, actually, yes, that's fine. But if you scroll down far enough, and it's something you can only do in the app, you cannot do it on the desktop, so don't go looking for it. There is a button. You go down the bottom, and you have the option for a custom version. So my pronouns are educator and speaker, because I think that's more valuable to the person looking in from the outside than knowing that I'm a bloke or a female, whatever it is. Other people will argue. I'm just showing you have the option to do that. And also, while we're in there editing on our phones, that is a name pronunciation that you can add. Now, lots of us in the room, Wayne Pratt and Tony K. Silver, but they've allowed 10 seconds. So let's consider this as an opportunity to have an audio headline, not just our name, but a little bit about what we do. People are curious enough to push it. They get to hear it. Don't forget, your audience has different learning styles. Some will prefer to listen rather than read all the time. So you're ticking a box there. Nice little additions you can have in that area. Headline, we talked about it earlier. Initially, probably one of the most important parts of LinkedIn, because it's readable by you, human beings, but it's also readable by the bots. And therefore, they'll be looking for keywords. You as a human will be looking for a reason to scroll down. We've got a short attention span. We're not necessarily going to get them to scroll down when they first view. In fact, I don't think many people will. They look for something of interest. Yes, they'll scroll. But if we haven't got any hooks in there, they probably won't bother. And in there, we have 220 characters. Okay. I think if LinkedIn give me 220 characters, then I'm pretty much going to use the majority of them, but I'm going to use them in a way that works for the viewer. I'm considering the people that are looking, and therefore it's going to tell them what I do. That's important. I worked with someone this morning who did a little bit of how he went about it first. But unfortunately, when you do a search on the app, you only see the first 25 or 30 characters. So look at that. Does that make sense as to what you do? Most of the time it doesn't. You probably need to put what you are first, then go on to tell people how you go about it. One thing I'm always talking to people about is credibility, because we are not going to be in the search all by ourselves. If you do a search on LinkedIn, there's never going to be one person who comes up in it. There's going to be other people. Therefore, we need to stand out. One way is the credibility statement. Whether actually you've been helping people do podcasts, Tony, for 20 to 30 years, or, you award-winning, something that makes you stand out above the person that may just have come into your area because they pivoted last month. We need to stand out from those people. Credibility statements. And for those of you that are bolder, ask a question. But ask a question where you're aiming at your ideal client and you are the answer. So in my case, are you on LinkedIn? Not too sure when to post. That's got a lot of people, because most people haven't got a clue really how that works. So I've got their interest. I'm talking to them. They probably now want to scroll down to find out how I can help them. As I say to my clients, you're never going to get it right first time, but that's great. It doesn't matter, because the more you're on LinkedIn finessing, playing around, tinkering, you're on their platform. They know you're on your platform. They like you because you've been on their platform. They want you to stay on it all day long. This is one area where tinkering is a great thing to do. If you're on premium, you currently get a web link. There's lots of changes around LinkedIn coming up in the near future. That is actually an artifact from the creator mode a few years ago and probably will get removed at some stage. The audio headline I mentioned, and obviously you've got the action bullet points below. LinkedIn is glitchy. The last couple of weeks, it's been very, very glitchy. Some of the things that should be there aren't there. I lost whole sections in recent weeks. There are other things where the number of skills and the number of recommendations you've got, the number's no longer there. It's disappeared. People's are finding out that my about section was just compressed all into one paragraph. I didn't do it. So bear with, at the moment in time, it is glitchy. If it's being glitchy, you really have only got one option. That's just to hang around. LinkedIn know it's happening. It always happens when they do big updates. They do them live, and it does affect the platform. And that's what's going on. So my 4 pillars of the top card, we just looked at it. Okay. It's very important, because if that 5 or 7 seconds you don't give the person a good reason to scroll down, pretty much lost out, haven't you? They're off to see someone else's potentially. You might be the best person for them. So a lot of work around that. Optimization. LinkedIn has many different sections, some of them which weren't there at the beginning. And if you go back to here, you've got this add profile section button. In there, there's lots of different sections. Some you will have, absolutely, but some that you won't have. So my suggestion is go and discover the add profile section button. See what sections you can add that give value. Actually, in the search engine, the more sections you've got filled in, the better it is for your search results as well. There are some sections in there that you didn't have when you first joined. It's worth adding them in there. Activities on LinkedIn, one of the most asked questions that I don't know what to do and when not to do it. Don't forget, it is actually a massive search engine. Lots of people on it. You can do highly. And also your feed. Your feed on LinkedIn recently has been full of rubbish. Lots of notifications from adverts and promoted stuff, etc. My suggestion, again, I can't go through in too much detail the time I've got, but there's 3 dots above every single post on the top right-hand side. Go and look at the options. If it's a post from me, they will be different to a promoted post. But go and interact with those. On the promoted posts, you can tell LinkedIn you don't want to see it again, and they will acknowledge. But if the company then pays some more money for a new campaign, you will see it again. When I start scrolling down my feed, I don't see lots of those promoted posts because I've got rid of them. I've also told LinkedIn that I like certain things. So my feed is now being curated by me. So my feed is full of stuff from people I like, subjects I'm interested in, and the other stuff is starting to get kicked out. Your feed's really, really important. The app runs a completely different algorithm. Say there's certain things you can do on the app you cannot do on the desktop. So we talk about feeds. Everyone talks about the LinkedIn feed, singular. No, there's 3. When you look at the feed at the top, there's a drop down which says most recent as well as top. You can toggle between the two. And actually, if you go good old fashioned refresh page at the top, the little arrow thing, it will give you a different version. There's another version on your app. And the final option is if you want to look for posts on AI, rather than trying to scroll through your list to find something interesting, go to your search bar, put AI in, hit the button, and then select posts. You get another menu, so you can then choose who they're from, when they were. Then you can look at all the posts that are around about a subject you're interested in, rather than scrolling through all the lists. So there's lots of different ways of interacting on that side. I've got groups on here because I seriously think a lot of people have given up on groups. And I completely understand, because LinkedIn used to have some great groups that were really powerful. In fact, when I run in the UK, we landed £30,000 worth of business based upon the group and the collaborations we did amongst that group. What I go to now and say to people, rather than look at the groups that you're in, why not consider joining groups where your avatar is, your ideal client? Example, I'm in a group called Best Lawyers in America. I don't live in America and I'm not a lawyer. But one of my ideal targets is exactly that. When I go in, I can then post in front of Lawyers in America. It's targeted. Plus, I can interact with the members who could be second and third line connections, but I can freely talk to them in the group. So joining groups where your avatar has lots of advantages. It's definitely a tactic I would strongly suggest people get involved in. Let's go back one more slide. I want to talk a bit more about activities. Can't go into too much details because of the time constraints, but consider when your audience consumes. Not the fact that some guru has said that 10 o'clock on a Tuesday is a great time to post, because it might be for them, but you're not them. And we need to use the word context. If I post at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the UK. That means on Eastern time in America, you're 5 hours earlier. So that is 5 a.m. Well, I know people are up and about because they tell me they are. Are they going to be looking at my LinkedIn posts and engaging with them? Probably not. I work in education. If I post at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm hoping the teachers are in the classroom teaching. So I post maybe 3 times a day. One, 10 o'clock, which hits my UK and my European and even as far as Dubai. We'll have clients. That's not too bad for them. Mid-afternoon, I'll post for my Canadian, American, and South American friends in a slot that they can see. And I might again do it later in the early evening. The best way is to put out the original post. When it comes around to the time for the next one, repost your own post. Always add thoughts, add your value to it. You'll often see if I do the one in the afternoon, it tells people why I'm posting. It's a game. Some people say, if you post more than once a day, LinkedIn's algorithm will not like it. If you post within 18 hours of the last post, you will get reduced reach for the first post. But this is the first post. All I've done is added a couple of extra lines of context around why I'm posting it. I can post it quite happily 3 or 4 times a day. Every single area, time zone wise, that I'm looking to do will get a chance to see it. When only 10% of your connections get to see your post when you first do it, then we need to make sure that we get more bang for our buck. And the way around doing that, as I say, is to repost it a few times a day. You can make comments on your own post. Again, some people say you can't, you can. But I strongly suggest that don't put that link in the first comment below, because that doesn't work. So for those people that want to point people at a website, don't want to stick it in the actual post, but want to go, please see the first comment below. because when people engage with your posts, LinkedIn have a little drop-down menu which says most recent and most relevant. I can categorically state that the chances of the first comment staying in there for very long are very, very slim. So you're now telling people to look at a comment they can't see. Stick it in the post. Just one. Don't go two-man, do two or three. LinkedIn definitely don't like that, but just put one of your URLs in the post. Do not stick it in the comments. It is definitely not worth doing because after a while, people can't see it. So they can't go to that website or book onto that event. Lastly, the notification bell has changed. If you haven't noticed it, there are 3 options. That's the standard one. Personalized based on your activity. Yeah, okay. If you are wanting to get more, I'd suggest that the all is actually correct. I suggest the majority. In this case, this is my one close friend of mine is also my mentor, etc. When he posts, I want to know about it because I want to get involved with the posts, etc. So let's just say for this group, each trade wins, you want to support each other, which I know you do, but rather than do a LinkedIn pod, which is horrible and will get banned very soon, why not go and look at other people in the room and start changing the notification bell to all. So you get to see when they post. You get a notification at the top of your profile that says they posted, and you can engage at different times of day. So it's definitely not seen by LinkedIn as a poll. This way you can actually support each other. If I get a notification from someone, I go and look at it. The clue here is to tag the people that have agreed to do it in the post or in the comments so they know that you have tagged them. So group this size, 10, 15 people, brilliant. Talk to each other in those one-to-ones you need to have and say, are you happy to be tagged in posts from time to time? Great. And the person will then go in, make a comment, tag you back in it, which you need to teach them to do as well. And then it's getting much more reach. And if you take the third leg of the journey and turn it into a discussion, LinkedIn will give you a little bit more reach on top of that as well. So there you go. Hitting those notification bells is really, really, really. So the one thing that the assume word was used about earlier, in LinkedIn, you go into your settings under data privacy. On the 3rd of November, LinkedIn added this, data for generative AI improvements. But they added it to your profile with a on. So if you haven't turned this off, you are allowing LinkedIn to use your data to help AI. If you don't want to do that, I suggest you go into settings and privacy and block it off. Finding settings in privacy, if you don't know, come on, LinkedIn, I know you're playing around today. Come on. Is actually is up here under your me button. Go down, settings and privacy. There it is. You click in there. When you're in that data area, it says that you can download your data. It is your data. It's not LinkedIn's, and I suggest you do it at least once a month. Then save it somewhere safe out of the way, because if LinkedIn kicks you off, you haven't lost 20 years worth of data.
Unlock the full potential of networking with East Trade Wins. Are you eager to connect with our esteemed guest speaker and delve deeper into the ever-expanding universe of connections? Simply scan the QR code now and embark on a journey of endless opportunities. Join us at East Trade Wins, where we gather online via Zoom every Tuesday from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, you're welcome to connect with us. Seize the moment, register for free, and start exploring today. Fancy sharing your insights as a guest speaker? We're looking for you. Reach out to Wayne Pratt to ignite your speaking journey. Email him at wayne@motivateyou.ca or connect with Wayne on LinkedIn. Don't wait, take action, and be a part of a global community that's shaping the future of business networking.